Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
With the comment.
Now
Yeah.
starter. It is top down.
Okay, so
No, no, sir, if
more
you
like
click on start,
there are
it will start.
21 now.
It is start.
That's pretty
A
good.
lot of my team which is joining, sir.
Oh, is it? Nice, okay.
Yeah, I've got all my team.
Yeah, so it's now 15:29. 3:30. We're supposed to check in by 3:30, right? Lalit is also your team, Priya?
Lalit is from my team.
You've done some pretty internal marketing.
I think you've done a lot of marketing, sir. A lot of people have reached out to me because of your post.
Well, it's always a pleasure for me. You know, for people like us, Manu included, you are veterans in the industry, you know, to see all of you reach the position that you are and achievers, and you know, it gives us a tremendous amount of pleasure. We always had some role to play in your growth, right? Yeah, I think it's yours. Yeah. Okay, so it's 6:30.
Sir,
Is Mr. Priyanandan Reddy coming in?
he is already there.
Yeah, I can't see him.
He's already there.
Hello, sir. Some issue with my.
Yeah, okay.
Camera, but Dr. Kiran Reddy, the founder of the institution, is here, and Dr. Roja is also here. So,
Alright. All of you are together.
yeah, I think
Your voice is coming, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you are muted.
Oh, present here.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
And where's Dr. Mrs. Kiran Reddy? Is she in? Funny, there is a lot of audio disturbance from your.
is it so? I see. Okay, I will just take it.
Bluetooth, yeah. Is Mrs. Kiran Reddy there? Good evening, Mrs. Reddy. Are we to see you so that all the GMs can also say hello to you? Are you there?
I think you have to unmute yourself.
I have to unmute.
Sure. So, good afternoon, all of you.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Dr. Kiran Reddy from Institutes.
So, good afternoon, madam. Thank you so much, and also congratulations to you on the International Working Women's Day, and also helping to facilitate this whole webinar. So we have, the whole entire data, so we just want to really say welcome to you. If you want to say a word, one or two words to the ladies here, speakers.
Yeah,
May I get all the panel speakers to come on video, please?
Please join. The link is in
I feel honored to welcome you to this webinar and wish you all a belated International Women's Day. And really, it was so heartening to see all the 4 women at the leadership positions who have come as the speakers for today's webinar. And I just hope all the men who are here will have a different kind of insights about how we work and what are our experiences which the speakers will be sharing. And thank you, Dr. Mohan Kumar, for initiating this webinar and for always being great motivation for us to do good work in this field of this hospitality, and then understand what are the recent trends and what are the new trends which are coming in and how we can take it to the classroom. Thanks a lot, and I welcome you all for this webinar.
Yeah, thank you so much, madam. We are grateful for all the facilities that you are team has so efficiently and so warmly provided. And I must put in a special word about the team, Dr. Abhijit and Swagata, who has been extremely helpful and always, on call for the last 2 days. Yeah, thank you.
It is my pleasure, sir.
It is our pleasure, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Priyanand. Thank you so much for the power behind the whole, initiative. We've been together for the last a few years. So I just want to acknowledge and recognize and thank you for your support.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, okay. So we go ahead. Shall we go ahead? It's already 3:34, so we're supposed to start at 3:30. Swagata,
Yes, sir,
I
please.
see it's on a gallery view, so I can't put this on a gallery. I think you are in control, right? Can we have it in a gallery view so that
I can,
this anyone of the audience can also sort of have on the same screen? Is it possible to, or shall we go ahead? You're
Just
listening. I think now it's become 44.
Right.
Is that right?
It's right.
Swagata, how many have joined?
43, ma'am. 43, ma'am.
44.
Yeah. Okay. So, Manisha, can you come on the video, please? Yeah. And Didima. Yeah.
I'm on video. Are you able to see me? So,
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
So am I.
And see you.
And
How, I'm beginning to see the speakers. Talk that. Yeah, now I can see you, but what's happening is, can we have the audience separate so that the panel speakers, I have a direct view?
sorry, I didn't get it. What you want?
Means only the panel speaker he is looking to have in the screen. So can it be done?
I don't think so. Oh, we can pin it.
We can pin.
Indrajit, check with the IT people to be with you and see if the required
Right, I'm just checking. We are doing it, ma'am.
changes and the requirements are
Right.
taken care.
Right, it is been taken care. Just,
You have to pin it to the
ma'am, we are doing it. We are just.
So, good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. This is an exceptionally special webinar that talk about,
No,
Working Women's Day. We are celebrating the International Working Women's Day, and therefore we thought of talking about the achievers, the women achievers in the Indian hospitality industry, so therefore this webinar is all about the 4 panel speakers who are themselves role models as women achievers in the Indian hospitality industry. So we have now got all the 4 on the screen. I'm missing she's still in the gallery. Can we have her on the main screen, please? Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's get the tech settled down on its own. When we go ahead. So, good evening, ladies. To all the 4 of you, Kavindri and Priya, Ridhima, and of course Manisha. Thank you so much for accepting our
all those who are training people.
accepting our invitation to be here on board. So we will actually start with the concept. The concept is all about
Where is the next page?
it's a James Guild, which is actually a pan-India kind of group of all practicing general managers. He's one of the hosts along with Acharya Institute of Management Studies, which actually runs
Pin
hospitality
chat.
school.
But where is
So
the next page?
together we have actually organized about nearly 19 webinars so far.
Go for the
And
layout. Three dots here.
The purpose of the journal is
Three dots.
basically
Change
to
layout.
actually create a network
Change
and share about knowledge,
Title. Title.
information,
Increase.
networking, and also in terms of insights
Increase.
and a whole lot of getting to know each other.
Okay.
Nothing else, nothing beyond. So it's emerging in India. It will not become widespread. And these core members
Next
are of
page
course
I want.
representing the entire general managers guild or generation of hotel general practicing hotel general managers in India. Just that because of the International Working Women's Day, we have invited all of them, all the 4 lady GMs, who are all based out in Bangalore.
Ladies.
This is actually a face-to-face talk which we have twice a month. Virtual webinars and conversations.
I'll make it
And,
face-wise. Everybody should be visible.
Basically, it's all about leadership.
Contributing towards the industry.
It's all about talking about the different sides of leadership. How does one bring in their own personal style into the leadership of a hotel? Primarily, it's all about that. So let's hear from each one of them in terms of their own introduction of what they have done so far and about themselves. So instead of me calling out someone, I think for you can actually just go ahead.
There are three.
Someone can jump in and start.
I'll start. My name is Manisha Sharma, and I'm the general manager at the Renaissance at the Racecourse in Bangalore. It's been a journey of 22 plus years in the industry, and each moment that I've had has been full of learning and growth. And a very warm welcome to all of you who are here who joined the session, and I look forward to having a great interaction today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Manisha, and welcome on board. Yeah, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Mohan. My name is Ridhima Nair. I take care of Fairfield by married Whitefield as its hotel manager. 14 years in the industry, and I've been taking care of this hotel for 2 years now. What I love about my job is that no 2 days are ever the same. And yes, it's a wonderful, adventurous life. Thank you, and look forward to speaking to all of you.
Thank you, and great actually having you on board. Kadambari, yes, how about you? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody, and Mr. Mohan Kumar as well as Eames, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I think we've been talking about this for a while, but it's finally happening. So thank you for having us on this. My name is Kadambari Sabarwal Talbar. I always joke about the fact that by the time I finish saying my name, most probably the train has passed by. But that is what it is. And I've been with the hospitality industry now for almost 23 years. I actually complete that in June. I've been with the Marriott all through. And like the lovely ladies have said, it's never a dull day. It's exciting coming to work because you don't know what you're going to be hit with in a very nice way. So I enjoy the journey. I think for me it's always been about exploring the unexplored, and truly that's what we encounter every day. So I love it. Warm welcome, and look forward to talking to all of you.
That's great. Thank you. Yes, I'm also getting used to pronouncing your name correctly. Here and there sometimes it sort of varies. Yeah, but really wonderful having you on board, especially someone whom I have had the pleasure to interact just recently, and that's where actually the whole inspiration came in. Yeah, and now, Priya, of course, someone whom I know well, we were colleagues in the dark, so last but certainly not the least, Priya, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Monkumar, for inviting me for this forum, and Ames for getting this organized. It's a real pleasure. I have a lot of my team out here, so it's pretty exciting for me. I've got to be a little bit more careful what I speak. But having spent over 3 decades in this industry, I won't say that I've had a dull day ever, but yes, it's been very interesting for me as an individual and as a professional. I've really grown here, and I've enjoyed every day of it. And I have been with the Indian hotels since the beginning. This was the company I joined at the ripe age of 20, and I'm still here and very happy to be here. So thank you for this and look forward to the interactions today.
Great, thank you. So we'll go straight ahead with what we have to sort of share in our perspectives, philosophies, work style, leadership outlook, whole lot of things. So the way that we are, we did sort of come together and did a bit of a trial yesterday to sort of organize the whole conversation flow. So the first question to, but let me context for that. We are now talking about the new India, and India where almost, I think 50% of the population in India are women, which is pretty good. Like France, they call it the 50. But this 50% of women, almost majority of them are in the rural areas. A lot of them were educated and migrated to the urban space, either their parents or grandparents. They have all grown up in the urban space, have a very different kind of outlook and belief than perhaps their own parents and their grandparents, right? So they're all very fortunate that they actually born at a time in India where they are easily connected to the global stage. So in that sense, all of them have a very international outlook. Their whole ethos, outlook, the way they have actually brought themselves up. There's a lot of self-confidence. There's a sort of self-belief, high esteem as a woman achiever, and so that's a new India. And these people, these ladies actually represent the future of India, the current India in terms of not just the hospitality, but in terms of the urban woman. And they could also easily be the role models for everyone who's watching here, and also beyond that. This will go into the YouTube, so I'm sure a whole lot of people, across the length and breadth of this country would look at them as someone who has made it differently and also made it and making it in their own companies. So, and to be a general manager for a hotel is not an easy task, not an easy achievement, because it takes a lot to really become the head of 24/7, 365 days for years on end, enough of bustling hotel to be that one person who actually is in charge of not just the operations, but the
50
whole
participants are
asset.
already there.
So anything that
That
happens
is why I want to
in
take
our
a photo.
hotel,
photograph.
वो
in
है ना,
that
you can take
actually
screenshot इसी में।
ultimately the buck stops at their desk.
कहाँ से?
So let's find out from them
क्या
how
photo लेना
has
है?
been
यहाँ से
their
photo लेना है।
experience over the last 5-6 years. That's the kind of experience they were they have been as GMs.
अरे यहाँ पे
But
print screen दबाओ ना।
more than that, they have
Yeah,
about 20 years of experience, and I think in the case of Priya, it's more than that. It's about 33 years of experience. I don't want to
Also,
dive
let
into
it be
that.
distributed.
The first question to therefore
I'll
to all
wait.
of you is,
Anyhow, this is
as
completely recorded. बाद में हम लोग कर सकते हैं।
women in an industry that is so far, maybe just a decade ago, dominated by males, so it is all a male domain. You have also obviously broken the ceiling and the glass ceiling, and now proved to yourself that you can be as much as equal as to a male GM, or even in fact better, right? So how is it making a difference to your hotel? Being a lady GM, for instance, you walk into the kitchen, right? And then you see that, and you just walk in your daily rounds. There's huge, this is in the thick of operations. All the male cooks, all of them are just making as much noise as the vessels, the utensils, the fire. And there's a buzz that's going on, and the chef just has sighted you. He just comes across you. And meanwhile, you see a whole lot of them, talking in languages which perhaps not really, not the kind of language that should be used when ladies are around. You all know what it is. Because in places like the kitchen, engineering, perhaps, that's a different culture. And that's where it's been. Of course, it's So I just want to know from each one of you, how would you handle it? What would be your whole approach towards it? There are a lot of dallies going on, and then and the chef is getting embarrassed. But what would be your body language? How would you handle it? There could be three ways. One is, of course, you take it long, you ignore it, or you counter it. Yeah, Manisha, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant question. And there are different ways to look at this situation. But if I have to put everything together, there has to be a combination where you ignore and don't jump into the situation at that time. Obviously, you can give the feedback in closed doors, which is very essential and also imperative with the times which are changing. For example, I would have around 20 women in the kitchen, and at this time, and even if it was before, you would not propagate a culture which would not be very conducive for women leaders as well. So obviously, you will not jump into the conversation that time, but you would make certain notes of it, come back and do that conversation with the leader and say that this is something that you would not encourage, and then obviously keep a note of it and see how it is going. So that is also from my point of view with the diversity that we have around us. It's very, very important that we look at these things. So that's my take on this.
Thank you. We'll quickly move on to the next person. Who would like to have it?
Happy to go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, it's also a very similar story and a similar situation. I think it is about the culture that you bring forward into the organization that you're in. If the expectations are very clear, you will more often than not have such situations. But yeah, there are always oops moments, right? But I think it is also about the kind of conversations that you can have. For me personally, if I did have a moment like that, I would walk in. I wait for it to settle down. I would then address it behind closed doors. It's not for me to take on somebody just because they wish to communicate in a particular manner. It's about how you let them be at their workspace. Having said that, there is a decorum that needs to be followed, there is discipline that needs to be followed, and I think in today's day and age, we are also very cognizant of the fact that we are not only one gender who works in the hotel industry. There's more of the DEI, which diversity, equality, and inclusion, that has been talked about. The awareness has been built. So you do come across lesser moments of these. But honestly, for me, it's about the whole kind of conversations that you have and the expectations that you set.
Thank you. That was great. More or less, I think both of them seem to be very confident as to how they would handle this. So let's hear from Ridhima. Yeah.
We already work in a very high stress environment, and it's very natural for us to build friendships within the team, right? Now, when that friendship is built, that rapport will be very different, and that's where I think you take a call as a leader to selectively ignore some things at times. When you're passing by and when you overhear the conversation, I'm sure you can always make out the context of the conversation. If it is something where it is a personal abuse, then of course I would probably intervene immediately. But like I said, if I can make out that the context of the conversation is not personal, then I don't think there is a need to immediately intervene. At the same time, simultaneously, you have a conversation in general with the team at the right time, probably in forums like your town halls or annual day, where you talk about how you would want to be treated and you treat others the same way. It's about people respecting people, right? And as I've mentioned before also, I'm as much an employee as the others are. My position does not command respect. The fact that I'm a human being commands respect. That I think we're all good judges of that. So I think I would selectively ignore based on the judgment of the context of the conversation.
And a middle path?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, good, great. Yeah, and they say women make great diplomats, and it's coming out very well. Yeah, Priya, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually agree a lot with Ridhima, and I think somebody abusing has to have a context to it. So if it's just in fun that people are talking, because like I was sharing earlier, I think today's generation tends to talk these four-letter words far more easily than we did. Also, I don't know if I would really differentiate between a male and a female when this is being done. Instead, I would see in what context, and if the ladies are also part of it, it's a fun and a banter, you would not really stop it. But yes, to maintain decorum and discipline, there has to be a position which has to be taken on a separate forum. And rightfully, like she said, if somebody is being abused, you would not let that be done later. You have to just catch it head on and stop it immediately. But I think on the whole, I find a lot of maturity amongst teams today. And I wanted to share this with you, sir. I want to join the kitchens, and I was told I can't join the kitchen because I don't know how to say the four-letter word. And I was refused, and I was instead put into front office because I just looked right to stand at the front desk. And I was very upset in that day and stage. I thought it was very, very discriminating. But that was what kitchens were then. And today I think because so many women work in kitchens, the decorum and the behavior is much more homogeneous, it's much more happier, and women don't feel differentiated in comparison to men.
Yeah, that's great, brilliant answer. We are learning a lot from how you are, sort of engaging in these kind of situations. But I just want to say overall, you imagine therefore the plight of those girls or young girls who are working in the kitchen along with these people, different generations. And I think probably actually it's a good thing, as Vilma said, that I think Kadri also mentioned and Manisha also mentioned that, it's, now today you take it for granted. It's not just one gender. There could be multi-gender, there could be both the genders, people working in the kitchen, right? So therefore, I think the men then tend to sort of realize, refine themselves, calm down, and the culture is changing in the kitchen because they could also be now the chefs, the lady chefs who become the bosses, right? And they are going to take it very sternly, So in that sense, I'm so happy that women are really bringing about a lot of change in the hospitality space. Let me tell you that. I can say that myself, in my 30 years as general manager and prior of course, at computer. When you have even a single person, single lady in a meeting or in a room, today everyone is very conscious. There is always the social pressure. Some men may be a bit aggressive or brash, but there are others who actually sort of soften up and correct the persons. So in that sense, I think, and this is very important because it's not about you, it's about your parents, it's about people who are elder to you in your family who are very sensitive about this, sending you to a workspace where this are also kind of in that sense, So I'm very happy that all the four of you feel very comfortable about handling situations like this. Let me just now get into a personal question. Okay, so that's a very simple question. And every HML is asked this question in books or in interviews or in this kind of debates. So the question is all about who is that person, that very special person or persons in your life whom you like to always keep remembering and grateful for believing in you, for supporting you, even in the worst of situations, and someone whom you will always remember wherever you
participant list check.
Priya, will you like to go? Yeah.
Of course, I will. I think it might sound very similar to a lot of people, but I think for me, my biggest inspiration has been my mother. And she stood out to tell me that as a woman, I could never ask for special favors. I had to be an equal amongst everybody. But at the same time, to grow up, not to, it's a wrong word to use, but that's what comes to my mind, is not to be a parasite. And to stand up for what I believe in.
So there are times when I have lost it because I stand up for what I believe in, and I think you've also been a recipient of it, sir. But yes, that's one part, and the other, of course, is that do what makes you happy. Because by grace of God, I don't think it was always about going out and bringing in something back home. It was also about for my own personal self. So she really gave me that space, and she always said that I'm there. Miss her today, but otherwise, yes, she was my.
So I'm going to interject. Okay, so that we make it a little more interesting. I'm going to push each one of you. Tell me, Priya, so where is it that one instance where she came out so brilliantly in your defense? Maybe within the, within dad-in-law or within the, your own close family or some relatives. When you were sort of being embarrassed, oh my God, you're going to hotel management. What is that? Go ahead.
So I think one thing which she taught me was on a slightly different note, but I want to share it because you asked me. My first day at work, and I got really scolded by some guest at the reception counter. And he was less of abusing me. He said everything. I didn't know what hit me because I didn't even know who he was. So I came back as a typical little girl from the house who was thoroughly pampered. I said, this is not the place for me, and that was my third day at Taj Mansingh in Delhi. Because I'm walking out from here. So when I came back, she told me, you are such a lucky one. I said, like, what do you mean? I have had somebody shout at me today. She said, every time somebody shouts at you or abuses you, something you haven't done, you have actually covered a past karma of yours. So hopefully by doing this job, you'll get moksha. So I am convinced I'm going to get moksha because I've been working on for 3 years. But more importantly, also she said, you're the face of the organization, don't back out. So that time you've got to stand there, listen to that anger, whatever, and find a solution. Stop thinking it is for Priya, but it is because something happened and I have to find a solution. And I think that's what stood by me till date, where you realize that you don't work here because you're a woman, you're Priya, you're this, you're that. You work as an employee. And I think that was a big learning for me. So fingers crossed I'll get my moksha also.
Thank you, Priya. Manisha, what about you? Okay, tell us about your story.
So, for the inspiration, I guess it's always been my father till date, and he was the one who stood out and said that I think I don't see you having traits of becoming a doctor. So let's put that aside, and you stand for what you want to do, and considering that you've been talking a lot about travel and hotels, so this would be apt for you. So I guess from inspiration standpoint, he was there always for me when I would do something wrong or go back and say this is not the place for me, as rightly Priya mentioned. But after some time when I started to work, I guess my biggest mentor has also been Ranju because she was my first boss and she's the area vice president now in Director of South Asia. So these two people I think has inspired me a lot, and you always need somebody to listen to you and to guide you at every stage where you think you are at crossroads and you think where am I going? Is there a headway ahead? So I guess these two people still stand by me every time, and they're the greatest inspirations that I've had in my life.
Great. So if within about 30 seconds, can you tell us something about the one which sticks to your mind in terms of what your dad said that you'll always remember?
Yeah, so it was the campus time, and I finished hotel management, and he said that I don't see you proactively preparing for something, and it's just 3 months down the line, and do you have something else in your mind now? And that was when he said, if you get through OCLD, we're going to do this, and so that 3 months changed my life as well. I started to prepare just to let him know that yes, you are my inspiration, but at the same time, I'm going to do what you want me to do. And I guess that was another bigger point in my life which changed a lot of things.
You've been a dream block.
Yeah, thank you.
So Ritima, okay, let's hear from you.
I can't point out to one person because, and I can't say as an inspiration, but there have been many enablers in my life. I was originally supposed to go for housekeeping as my area of interest, but then there was a senior from college who mentored and advised that he felt that I would do better in front office, and that worked wonders for me. And it was really just 2 days before the campus placement that I chose to change my departments. At my first job, it was my front office manager who identified my potential even before I myself knew about it, which led me to where I am now. And people around me, I've been blessed to have people, and whether it's male or female, I've been blessed to have people around me who have shown examples of things that I can also do. Personally, my sister, she's a graduate in law, but she completely moved around and took up a career in digital marketing. That's a huge risk, and for someone very young. And that also is an example of how this generation is, right? And now my husband. There are people who are enablers in my life, so I can't point out one person. I think I've been very blessed to have people in my life at different junctures who have pushed me, identified my potential, and given me those moments of
Understand. Great. That's a very compelling story. Just give me one instance where you realize that I have to now tap out to someone for emotional support. One of these 2 or 3 that you mentioned. A particular instance that happened. Maybe a boss was pretty strict, something happened, he perceived that he was unfair, some situation, or guest screamed at you, or some employee was sort of, like happens in social media. What is it called? When you are being abused or.
I think for emotional support, but I have a lot of colleagues that. Sorry?
With those helping me, they say trolley, yeah.
Trolley. Well, I've been fortunate to not have experienced it till now. But yes, for emotional support, I think, again, I've got friends in the industry whom I have been able to rely on. I can't say I do.
For a specific instance, where you felt that you need something, some break and somebody could go and talk to. Some situation, because either with a guest or with a colleague or with a subordinate or team member or somebody outside.
I have to think very hard.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you for your patience. Yeah.
So, I think much like Pradima, I won't say this is one person, but I definitely say that I have seen inspiration in my parents. I've seen inspiration in a few other people. But yeah, I think where I am today is largely because of my parents. I've seen my father go across to field area. He's from the armed forces, and in the infantry you do have a lot of these cases where the families stay apart, and you've got to learn about separation very early in life. You've got to learn that nothing is constant. You've got to learn that change is the only thing that takes you aside, right? I've learned that from my father. I've learned a lot from my mother because I've seen her be in leadership roles when my father has not been around. I've seen her assume the head of the house responsibilities when my father's not been around because he's been taking care of countries or for somebody else. So I think from a lot of these small experiences that I've had through my journey, I've taken inspiration. So if there's that one person or the 2 people who you've got to speak about, it's definitely my parents. And being the only child, I've learned not to take sides, so it'll definitely be my parents and not my mom or my dad. Having said that, I think the easier thing for me to say is that it's not been constant through the years. It's been that you need to find the inspiration in what you desire
I am
for.
able to
So you
talk
need
to
to
the
look for it constantly.
She
I
has
can
worked her.
definitely
Thank you.
say that my
Samantha.
support has
Without your
been
support,
through the
you wouldn't
years from my parents, from my husband, and from my little one, who's always challenged me across the board. So my inspiration comes in many different ways, and it could be even an actor one day where I think that the movie is exceptional, and I really want to be like that person, right? But all in all, parents, they lead from the front.
Alright, great. Like, I don't forget mentioning about our, on behalf of all of us, we like to, acknowledge the contribution that your family has made to the armed forces.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is your husband also in the armed forces or no?
No, he is a battalion.
Oh, he's a battalion, okay. That's as good as being in the armed forces. They call the White Army. Okay, we'll move on to something more interesting. I'm just building up the tempo and the whole building it up. Next is all about when you were selected by your company, your colleagues, you told me when, I'm sure you would have been a batch of both boys and girls. Was there any, number one question is, was there any stereotyping of, okay, the girls are meant for housekeeping, they're meant for sales and marketing, or they're meant for human resources, or they may be meant for strategy or finance, but not operations, not food and beverage, or not maybe kitchen. What do you have to comment? It's not just about your own experience. I'm sure you would have overcome that because today you have become the GM. But what was your experience right from day one in the hotel environment? Was there a stereotyping in terms of the job roles of women in the hotel? That's the question. So, would you like to, anyone can jump in and start?
So I'd be happy to go first for this question. I think my match or thereafter, we were quite fortunate enough not to have so much of the stereotyping. I think what we did have is if you wear this color sari, you're going to get chosen by X hotel. If you do put your best foot forward in this particular institute, or this company, you're going to get this particular role, right? You're fair, so you're going to get this role. So I think the stereotyping was very different from a gender bias. I definitely call that out. However, I would say that most of us came across from the hotel schools. We were exposed to just the 4 topics and the 4 departments that existed for the longest time. We did not have exposure for something like a sales and marketing, or just sales and marketing separately, or revenue management, or some of the ancillary departments, right, in human resources. So I think the people who defied the laws were the ones who went in for any of those departments per se, because they wanted to carve out a different road for themselves, even though they had done hotel management. So I know I'm going round and round, but the point is that no, I was one of the lucky ones who did not have that kind of stereotyping at that point in time.
सर ये रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है ऐसे अंडरलाइन मत कीजिए.
Yes, because
the image of a lady becoming, always opting out for sales and marketing, and I'll tell you honestly, and I made this comments privately to, among my team, oh, that's a great job because it's 9 to 6.
Well, on the retrospect, I say I haven't done many 9 to 6, but I did, like I was mentioning, when I did get through the management training program, it was pretty much within the 4 departments, major departments. I came in for food and beverage, and then on the first day there were interviews that were for sales and marketing. And I think I was again one of the lucky few who went into the sales and marketing. I haven't really been touched it. But for me, it was more about exploring, really what I started out to do and into operations and then into the technology.
That's brilliant. To compliments to you, because from a sales and marketing you moved on to hardcore operations, and today you're looking at the entire operations for the hotel. Okay, go ahead, Manisha. What has been your observation, experience, and perception? Yeah, about the stereotyping.
Altogether, I think while I was in the hotel management school and also at the Oberoi school, both these areas I never felt that there was a particular say in the area to say that this is something that the girls should do and this is something that you should avoid. So that is very similar to what Radhandri mentioned. Yes, I think that there should have been more exposure, which is relevant to today's time, that you could take up more fields in terms of, say, revenue management or human resources and things like that. Because then, you were very, very defined to only 4 areas at that time. So I guess that's what my take is on this.
So, okay, at this stage I want to check with you. Did any of you work in the banquets and that too? A late night outdoor function for one of those Ambani family functions?
Yes.
Something like that. Where you really have to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, manage this entire team. Whole lot of things happen when you take an outdoor function. Have you been involved in that as a supervisor or as a manager, and what has been your challenges?
So I guess it was imperative for our times to be involved as well, because you don't do that, you don't learn. And as a result, when you're climbing up the ladder, you definitely need to have that kind of a knowledge as well when you're going to become a general manager or leading a department. So yes, gone through that. There were many challenges, but at the same time, those challenges were not so big as the learning opportunity was. So at those times, I guess those learning opportunities really gave us a lot. And I would say because of those learning opportunities, where we are today.
Thank you. Nidima, go ahead.
I second what Manisha said about the learning opportunities, right? And I'll also add something here. I think it's a two-way street. I never experienced, similar to what Manisha and Kadambari said, I've also never experienced any kind of stereotyping personally. And I also think it's because of the credibility that you build yourself, right? That it doesn't get questioned. You have, even as a student in college, you have probably proven yourself to be of that caliber, that you are capable of that department, or you have the acumen to build yourself in that department. So I think in general, whether it's at university or whether it's at work, I've also never experienced that stereotype.
That's great. Okay, thank you. That's a clean slate for the kind of culture that the organizations have now in the hotel environment. Priya, what about you?
So I think the three ladies have said all the positives, and I can't second that first them. I would say it's definitely for any organization, especially our industry, it's so important to let women thrive, because I think it's you can't just work here because you're a male.
Right.
And I don't think ours is a very male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
So as organizations, I think I've been very fortunate. IHCL is a company where I've never been told, like I used to read about, pay parity and all that, but I've never felt it. And in all these years, I've always been, while I have been given equal opportunities, I have also been many times cared for because I needed it a little more than the men. So I think I've had that bias where people have been a little favorable to be a little more protective about me. So if I'm traveling, there's always this question to ask, what time is the flight, how are you landing? And that shows the reason to have continued with the company, because they care about you. Stereotyping does happen at individual level, which I would say does happen. I don't know, the ladies have not faced it. Like I said, in the kitchens, I just couldn't survive in the kitchen in those days because those guys, I got the best appraisal, but they said you are not fit to work here because you're a woman. So I'm just so happy that in the last 3 decades, it's changed so much that today you have so many lady chefs. I would have loved to be a chef myself, maybe one day, but I think that bias has changed over the years. So today India has changed. So many things in life have changed, and that's been the beauty about it.
So in more or less, it's a level playing field, isn't it?
Of
Of course, and you have to be equal.
Yeah.
You can't ever ask for specials because you're a lady.
Right. Yeah.
And you, at the same time, I think we also make a little extra from our side because we don't want to take any special favors. And we want to prove that we are as good or bad as the others.
No, I'm so happy. As a veteran in the industry, I'm so happy that there is a huge, the industry has evolved, and now kind of it's not anymore a discussion about about women employees or executives in the hotel. It's all about that. I think we have past that discussion, but I just want to still there is those lingering debates in the corridors of hotels about. Oh my God, she's the preferred one because she cannot move out of the station. She's married, the husband is working in the same city, so it has to be within the hotels that are that are available within the city because she's just not able to mobile. However, being person is never asked that question. You move out or your career is stagnant. So then and now I'm trying my best to see how I can provoke you people to come out with some.
Now, I'd like to come in here, sir. I think, I know a lot of the men feel this way, but I think as a woman does more than one role. And that's where organizations accept that yes, she needs to be, and that's why I said to be nurtured and cared for because she's not just a working professional, she's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister, and she's a friend. And that's where I think we love being multitask. We love to do more things than one. And where our organizations have been very patient and very tolerant about our multifaceted roles. And this is where I think men also need to appreciate why that woman is being given that little extra preference over himself, because he is only either, sorry to say, but he is either the leader or he's only the father. But we try and balance everything out, and that's why many times women are much more stressed, but we love doing these double, triple and four-handed roles.
So in that sense, you're saying that the men are always the external affairs minister.
And I can say that.
Let's just move on to the other colleagues. What's your take on this? May I repeat the question? The mobility department. The mobility department also a level playing field. Are you all prepared for a level playing field when it comes to mobility in terms of growth?
So I'm going to answer this in two different ways. I was actually asked this question very recently, and I was kind enough to say that there would have been possibly roles, not would have been, that have been roles that I chose to give up because I wanted to be with my family, and that was my personal decision. Right? I possibly would have been moved to corporations a lot earlier, but I didn't because it was through my family's need. That I didn't think that I was ready for to be able to handle so much of that responsibility, both at home as well as at work, right? And I honestly think that it's a personal choice. The difficult part is coming up with the fact that you will make peace with the decision that you make. Because you can see opportunities go by, but are you ready to say yes, I took that stand because I wanted to take that stand? And that I feel is the most difficult. I don't know if this would be controversial, but I do want to make a statement to the earlier conversation that we had. Maybe for the longest time, and I don't know, it's just a conjecture, but maybe for the longest time, men have decided to move for better opportunities because they've had the support at home. Maybe men have decided to move because they feel that's the best. But has anyone actually taken the step to say, no, I don't want to move because my family is home, my family needs me?
Logistics.
So I'm going to leave it at that. I just think that it is pretty much each person's decision and each person's situation that allows them or dictates where they are at what point in time, and you really got to take your destiny in your own hand and say, this is what I want to do.
Which means, in a sense, I'm so happy that you're good enough to voice that, and which is a fact. Always true, difficult to accept and listen to. So therefore, in that sense, you accept the fact that you do not have a level playing field, isn't it?
No, I don't accept that
Yes, no.
that is not the case. What I do accept is that there are a lot more hotels now. There are a lot more opportunities that come by, and if you want to really keep growing, then you need to get to the opportunity that's knocking on your door. The question is, are you ready to take that opportunity with both hands in hand?
Great.
It's not about the check.
Ridhima would like to.
I think I'll continue a little on what I'll continue a little on what Karan said about personal choice, right? And I think as females, we also have a nurturing side to us, especially Mama also mentioned. And I am someone who has personally made that choice, but that makes me very happy. I do not, there's not an ounce of regret or, any remorse about losing that opportunity, knowing that I have lessened my number of opportunities, because in the long run there is also happiness on the other side, right? In the long run, what is there for me? And that is my family. And yeah, that personal choice makes me happy. So I think it is about the personal choice that you make for yourself, and part of the nurturing aspect of you being a woman. But at the same time, I'm also aware that it is a conscious decision, and I also know that tomorrow, if I change my mind, tomorrow, if I do see that there is an opportunity which can do very well, I can do very well. I know that I have the support at home. I know that my husband, my family, everyone will be there for me, right? So it is a conscious choice, and of course priorities keep changing in life, right? So I think it's a mixed bag of things which makes you choose, that makes you make the decision.
Great. So, Manisha, in that sense, just extend this conversation, would you say that you basically talk about supplementing the income and not necessarily the breadwinner in the family, revealing that the husband or there are so many women who have been extremely successful and become the head of organizations, like Indra Nui, for instance, one of the global women in hospitality industry, the head of the organizations. And at the end of their career, she has written a book. They're a happy family. Husband has supported her. She acknowledges that. So how would you? I want you to say something different. Okay. How would you, if you are in, how ambitious are you? And how about it's me and my life? Yeah, I have of course a child, I have a husband, I have parents, but it's also about me. So what is your commitment? How do you take it?
I think I'll give you my perspective. I think I've moved more than 10 times in 20 years. And so that itself answers the question. I guess I was extremely mobile. But, and every time when I would go back home and say that, I think
Please
I should.
pause for a moment, there's a video that's disturbing me. So Dr. Manjunath has kept his video open. Could we ask him to?
I'll do the needful, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well.
So every time when I would go back home to discuss that, I think I should take up this opportunity, this would, help me step up. And I would say that, my husband and my son both would say that go ahead. And that's why I've had the maximum number of transfers and jobs that I've done. But at the same time, we had a lot of challenge when it came to schools, when it came to education of my son, and those were in the early years. And now when I see a bold 17-year-old and who has no regrets, I think things have fallen into place. In today's time, he's got friends from all over India. So I guess there are some positives, there are some negatives about every situation. And as the ladies mentioned that what is your happiness quotient to that?
Right.
So my happiness quotient was yes, I was too bold about moving. We saw a lot of challenges, we accepted it, but I guess in the end we are much happier now, and that's what has come around for us.
Which means all the four of you are, having a great family, happy work life. and obviously that is very, and you exude that. Now let's go into therefore, now we have settled this question about, just only women, just only the role of a lady. Let's talk about work-life balance in the hospitality. That's a big debate now. And also because of that, there are a whole lot of students, their parents, students, youngsters are not even getting into the colleges, hotel management institutes. Because they believe the industry is at fault, the hospitality industry, all of us. We have sort of treated all this new, the entry-level, graduates as workforce and made them slog it out from full day and night, and then there's not even an off day. Those kind of stories keep coming out of industry, and it's a fact that all the institutes in India are now getting probably 30-40% less than what their earlier years was pre-COVID. So, what would be your take on how would you change the entire image of the industry in the sense that the present generation is looking at quality in life, they're talking about work-life balance, it's also I am me and myself or my family. It's not just only work, and I have a lot of choice. So in that kind of environment is where you are going to grow. Some of you are going to become regional heads, corporate heads and all that. So you have to have a firm philosophy right now. So how do you maybe Kanadari can jump in and start? Yeah.
Sure. I think the first step is to acknowledge the fact that we are on a journey, right? Yes, we do come from an industry that has long balance. The whole piece is that we've been tainted that way. Where does anybody realize that this is possibly the only industry that gives you that confidence to stand on your own two feet and speak your mind? Does anybody realize that this is the industry that gives you the finesse that you bring to the table towards the end of it? Does anybody realize that the confidence, the self-esteem that you bring to the table towards, possibly somewhere mid-tenure, end of your tenure, wherever part of your tenure, is what you gifted to yourself because you worked those long hours? Having said that, yes, I agree. There is a need to be able to bring a little bit more quality to your life. And it's really at that point in time that we've said that we're all on a journey. Different organizations are looking at things with a very different lens. For example, in our organization, and I know Manisha and Ridhima can add to this, we've embarked on a journey of life on time. We're not saying that we're perfect, but what we're trying to say is, we do want you to have the quality of life. Do come in when you need to come in, which is at the beginning of your shift, but we encourage you to do that 9-hour shift. We encourage you to look beyond the 9 hours and look at what you can do after those 9 hours. Is it socializing that you crave for? Is it pursuing a hobby that you crave for? Is it traveling that you crave for? What is it that you want to really go ahead and pursue, right? So I think, like I said in the beginning, it's more a very conscious piece to say it's a journey. We've embarked on it. Let's see where we can take it.
Which means that and I'm so happy that Marriott has sent the great women leaders on for this conference. So that also shows the kind of liberal attitude that your company group has. And I know Mr. Abhimanyu very well, and also about Marriott. And I admire the former CEO who unfortunately passed on, who talked about hospitality. This is not a hospitality company, this is a technology company. So I understand the culture in which you are coming from and you talk with firm conviction. Let me hear from Manisha before I recommend.
Okay. I second the opinion that Kadambari has. At the same time, I would like to add that times around us have changed drastically.
Okay.
And with this and having the highest attrition levels where people have the opportunity to choose different industries, coming from our own industry and going ahead and choosing something else for their work-life balance had really hit us. So, having that approach in the hotel, that you have a time beyond your working hours as well to pick up something else, a new hobby, a new skill, doing something else in life has become also extremely important for all of us across various levels. So yes, marriage has gone ahead and And we are very, very strong on life on time, which talks about 9 hours, which talks about having time beyond your working hours for something else that you want to pick up. But with changing times, I guess it is very, very important for us to look beyond and also look at what is happening around us in the industry, and then try and leverage from that and continue to give the generations which are coming to work with us now a better work-life balance.
Yeah, but Manisha and Vidima also, see, it's alright for the corporate honchos to set up these policies, like for time and all that stuff, right? They create the policies. Of course, in conjunction with the operators who are in different locations. But you are actually walking the talk. You need to actually implement that policy, right? And that's where the conflict comes between. I don't know the kind of pressure, Priya, that all of you are going through in terms of suddenly India is now becoming like Europe and America, and all the hotel companies wants to have a ratio of 1:1, 1:1.5, 1:2, those kind of things, regardless if it's a luxury hotel, premium, or a ginger. So there is a lot of pressure, right? There's also, and everything of yours is being tracked. You know, very soon AI will come in, right? To track every single parameters of performance is being tracked. And so at the end of the day, it's your career, it's your future, it's your life. Yeah. So how do you actually cope up with this? How much of stress do you get? How much of conflicts you get? At the deeper level. And how do you balance it? I mean, for instance, you have banquets or F&B restaurants going on. There are so many areas in your hotel where the shifts, it go much beyond the shifts, right? But supposing you have a culture where you're staying life and time and staff just walk out because they follow certain procedures and not necessarily emotional from the heart thing. They say, okay, my duty is over and I'm going on. And that's what happens in Europe. That's what happens in the US, definitely. So how do you bring about that culture in the Indian context?
So I'll just answer that. And so for us, it's not about the policy; it's about the culture, as you rightly said. And to put across a culture in a hotel, you have to walk the talk. So when you start doing that regularly, whether it is through forums, whether it is through meetings, whether it is through having that, going across to an associate and asking, I hope you are absolutely okay with your working time. I hope you are on life on time. I hope you are taking that extra time off for yourself. It's building a culture in the hotel. So when you build this kind of a culture, things fall into place. And yes, it takes a lot of time.
I'm like the media person. I want to know I'm a bit cynical. I want to be, Anka is supposed to be like a media person. So, Rajiv, Sadesh, all are popular with a lot of people. But I want to just get some more. It's alright to hear hunky dory stuff, right? But tell me about those moments. Maybe Kalindi or Ridhima or Priya can come in now, so I don't exhaust you, Manisha. Tell me about actual confession. There have been instances where I don't know what to do. I mean, I send him home, but I have a guest who's there in the restaurant or the banquets or front office, overbooking, and there's nobody in the reception. Have you had situations like that? How do you real life experience?
Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form us to organize and perform
Then
better.
yes, yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much for
Yeah,
your
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Priya. Thanks. I think it's also about the team, and that's one thing I have learned in this industry, that if we don't feel for each other, we are never able to meet the requirements of this industry. So if there is not a team, and there will always be somebody who has an urgency. Of course, at times, like I had a colleague who had started tennis lessons, and it's not an urgency, but he was paying for his tennis. And he said, look, I want to leave at 7:30 in the evening. His work finishes at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But he requested me because I am the person who never leaves on time. But I have to respect that he's making an effort for himself and let him go for his tennis because he's fixed it in a manner that he could go for it.
Did the work suffer? You compromised on the work?
Not at all, because I think many times in our workspaces we just think that we all have to be together.
especially the work that I do, because I didn't mention it to others, but I work for the homestay brand of the company, and I'm actually a virtual general manager. So for me, I am a phone call away for all my team members who reach out to me at all times when they have a problem. But more important is expanding the brand, which was 9 and we're going to be 100 this week. So, in the last 4 years, we've been growing on this. And for all of us in the office, it's been very strenuous because limited spaces. We've opened during COVID. We've opened virtually. I've understood imagine opening a property without even visiting it. So that's like a big one for us.
Yeah.
But I don't think, sir, that today's generation is ready to let their life be compromised. And it's important that we also accept it. We were born in the world of ration card. They are not. They are born in the world of plenty. So we have to respect because
What happens to the poor owner? Get Kanduri answer that. The poor owner who's put in crores of money into this hotel business.
Give me it.
Finish well.
But
Please
so
finish.
I don't see anyone suffering over here. I just think that it's a win-win for everybody. There are times that yes, we have to request our people to stay back, or they willingly stay back, right? But one of the things that can be adopted, and that's what we're trying to adopt at this point in time, is to have that flexibility. So you've gone 4 hours late. How about sometime this week when the occupancies are a little lower, when the banquets are a little lower, why don't we give you that 4 hours back to yourself after a point in time? So there is a method to the madness. You're not wrong in being cynical. There were a lot of people who were cynical, right, about the whole thing. And it is about the adoption of the entire process. It's about thinking about the fact that how can we better our lives together, that we can bring about the change, because it is inevitable. It is going to come. Everybody is not going to work like whatever the word might be, but everybody's not going to work.
Like the early generation. Like the early generation.
Yeah. So the owners are not suffering. We are not suffering. The people are not suffering. It's only about how we look at doing things a little differently.
That's great. Yeah. So actually, in a sense, you're saying that your generation is accepting it and dealing with it in the best way possible, right?
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that?
Regarding the topic.
I'll only add this, that I think we are just not talking enough about it.
Okay.
I really feel we are not talking enough about it because, like you rightly said, we are losing out on talent, the kind of attrition percentage that we have, and the lack of talent that and the lack of people that we struggle to get into the industry.
ये वाला
Right?
जो है ना उसका एक snapshot.
I think it's time that we have those conversations, not
ये वाला
after they join the organization, but
मैं login
at
नहीं
a
करूँगा.
time when they're making that decision on which career to choose. We are very famous /
क्यों मैं बोल
for
रहा हूँ?
the long hours, but like Tanisha and Kadambri also rightly said, times are changing.
Only
It's not
this part.
impossible.
ये जो
And I
मैंने
think it
लिखा है और
depends on the kind of team that we build and the culture that we build.
आज
We just need to probably advertise it and
If you send it,
speak
मैं
about
send कर
it.
दिया.
So you see, you belong to global
मैं send कर दिया.
brands
Screenshot.
as much as goes Priya. In that sense, India is very much a part of the international scene. So the global culture, let's see in US, is that their models of hotels are factories, they're
And a little bit here.
the areas that actually sort of create long hours and shifts and challenges of unpredictable operations and things like that. It's fairly straightforward, right? And it's very structured. The accommodation is part in many ways as compared to the catering division or let's say engineering or kitchen or food production, right? But in India, it's a Four Seasons, it's a kind of like, very F&B centric. Even Magics have now adopted very F&B centric kind of thing in India. So almost all the hotels have to survive on wedding business, F&B business. So that's where actually the huge challenges happen, isn't it? So when we talk about pay parity, that's another big thing for the hotel. Did you know if you ask, I think there is this dean listening to you from one of the hotel schools who has a huge challenge in terms of filling up the seats. And also at the campus interview, the number of people who actually opt out to join the hotel industry, hotel brands are now probably in the third or fourth preference. They're all going away to banks, airlines, whole lot of other high-paying jobs. Even though they may be stressful, even though those kind of jobs could also mean irregular hours, night shifts, and all that stuff. So, what is your take on not your personal as well as at an official level? Just whole philosophy. It's not just about your company. On this whole clamor about that hospitality industry is not up to the mark in terms of compensation. Who would like to go ahead? Anyone?
Compensation is always relative, right, sir? I may feel that I am not paid as much as Manisha or Ridhima or Priya. I mean, it may just happen. It's very relative. We always tend to compare. I think over a period of time we will learn to realize that it's the best candidate for that particular role. And there are certain hotels that you will have where you will have compensation which is not as much as the other hotel. Is it really about the gender again? Is it really about the fact that a woman is not getting that much or a man is getting that much more? Or is it about the candidate not getting that much? Because that is the need of the hour, so to speak, of that particular hotel, or that is the banquet of that particular hotel. So I think a lot of times these questions get disguised in the manner of
reach out to them,
I get paid less
placement,
or I get paid more. But I think it's very relative and it needs to be looked at from a very different lens.
Alright, anyone else would like to take on that very hot topic and make your comments?
Yeah, I need to come in here. She's right. It's very relative. All of us always think we are underpaid.
Please unmute your video, please. Yeah, close the video. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all think we are underpaid. So salary and all this is considered relative to what others in our peers are doing, but a lot of times it's also a soul search to see what is my competency. And I think the second part with people today joining, not joining the industry is because we have a very bad reputation. And like rightly said earlier, we need to actually change because with changing times, this industry is not the same as what I joined 30 years back. It's definitely gone through a lot of evolution. Today, because of the way it was, today because of technology only, we don't need to do so much as we did earlier. What was a Whitney system in front desk, now with our good softwares, and a lot of work which happens. Also, I think a lot of efficiencies have come in. This industry is not the same of just being nice and polite, but there's so many other things which we are doing in terms of services and facilities, like our business, which is a new business which our company started. So many other things which we are doing, which again I think a lot of the youngsters don't realize that they have an opportunity of not just working simply as a waiter or a receptionist. Because exactly what you asked me earlier, that how was your family feeling about you joining the industry, and that's what everybody felt. How can you send your daughter to become a waiter in a hotel? I was not going to be a waiter, but I was seen as a waiter when I went and did my whatever we did as internships and all. I would wear the black and white. Some family member found, they said, how can our daughter be doing this?
Yeah.
But and I think a lot of us
has that perception changed, Priya, in terms of dignity of labor in India? What is your comment as an Indian, as an urban, modern Indian urban woman? What is your comment on this whole thing about stigma to a whole lot of jobs which because of the caste system in India, there are a whole lot of social issues that happen in India. There is always this outlook towards skilled jobs, semi-skilled jobs, unskilled jobs, and we view them as if they're not human beings, or they don't have they don't deserve, or they don't get the respect that they get, and that's probably the reason why our parents don't want to see us doing a steward's job in the hotel. So has that changed? Priya, go ahead. Yeah,
it's changing a bit.
I will not say completely. I run a luxury villa business in the company, and whenever I go and see a new property, my owners will say that's a servant quarter.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, go, you click on calendar because she's having a video problem. Yeah, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Talk about dignity of labor.
I definitely think that the dignity of labor is, the perception of it is changing. I think there is a lot more dignity of labor today than there was yesterday. You're very right in saying that, at some point in time we were all deemed as waiters because we were wearing a black and white. I think she's absolutely right in saying that. Or if you join front office, you were told that, oh, you just want to look beautiful. Right? It was very objectified, if I may say so. I think it's different.
Acha, sir, almost 60 log hai.
People do realize that today every job brings a value to the entire ecosystem. And it is really about where you are in that ecosystem. And I mean, the best way to put it is, if you want to see no change, why don't you need that change? Right? I mean, we've got that.
So let me ask you yourself, how many staff do you have in your hotel?
200.
Direct and indirect, yeah. Means how to got 200?
Yes.
So now, okay, so I'm going to get a little specific. So that out of this 200 staff, how many would be the management team, leadership team, about 20%?
25.
25%. So now, the other 75 are obviously carrying on the orders and instructions, and they are the kind of people who are at the supervisory level, skill level, semi-skill level, and unskilled level, and all that. So, what happens to, what's your outlook and policy, and if you can give some specific instance where in contemporary India, in the contemporary hotel scene today, if a supervisor is found to be, shouting or screaming or being unfair to a particular, and not unfair, he's not being unfair, he's actually sort of, for a genuine mistake or a failure or a repetitive mistake, he's actually obviously upset because the customer is suffering.
मेरे को तो यही लगेगा ना कि केक और चाहिए होगा.
That is the proof, sir.
वो उसकी बात है, हम क्या करें?
I seem to have lost, sir. Yeah, it seems the screen is frozen.
I believe he is having internet issues.
We'll take the conversation ahead.
Yes, we
Yes,
can
please.
take it ahead.
Yes, please.
Yes. While he joins. So I guess he's talking about what happens in situations where you face issues from, say for example, a supervisor, and how do you handle that situation? So one was that part, and the other part was dignity of labor. So while you were answering dignity of labor, so there was a situation that was put forward that how do you handle that if the supervisor is, finds a staff has not done the job, A, and the guest has to be handled. So that is where we were.
He left and he'll be joining back. No?
You want to take that or should I go ahead?
Yeah,
Let me moderate.
I can take that ahead. So I guess, we will of course handle the guest, and this is very important. When it comes back to the various measures that we understand the situation, we understand where did things go wrong, is it resource, is it the behavior, and then we tackle the whole situation. And of course, there will be a lot of times that we will be sitting more than once with the individual to correct a particular situation. So one is that, and second, when it falls back to dignity of labor, I just have one comment over there, that with the way India is growing, I guess the income levels for everybody has grown as well. So when that has grown, it is kind of given more opportunities to everybody around, and of course that increases the pay structures in India, and that itself is also connected to the dignity of labor. So that is just one comment I had. I guess we'll take the next question if you have, and then we'll go ahead from there.
How we are inculcating all these thoughts into the real-time hospitality industry? Ms. Sabarwal can take it ahead.
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat the question for me? I
My
didn't
question
really get
is, all these thoughts, how we are taking it ahead in the hospitality industry, how we are inculcating these thoughts in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, do you mean in terms of the dignity of labor?
Right,
Do you mean in
right,
terms of
right.
I think the change that we're seeing more often is because of the education levels that have gone up. I also think that there is a lot more awareness. Most of the people are exposed to so much of literature, right? Whether it's social media, whether it is the conversations that you have face to face right now, the webinars that we do, things like this. There is that much more awareness in education that has gone about. Now, when you do the same work, and in your own organization, in your own hotel, imagine the impact. So I think it's more about communication and how you are really bringing people on board to the change, because it's not the same. Every day is different. The policies are changing, the mindsets are changing, the guests are that much more savvy, your owners are that much more savvy. They've invested in crores and crores of business. Your guests have well traveled. It's no more just one hotel that you've gone to and you come experience the Atithi Devo Bhava. It's now that you start comparing whose Atithi Devo Bhava feelings and sentiments are better than the other ones, right? So I think I fall back on the fact that it's more about the communication, the training. The L&D department now has a much tougher role, and it's really a pivot to what we do. If the processes are followed, if the training is given, then it's a lot easier to inculcate most of these things.
I'd also like to come in out here for dignity of labor. I think you have to have the dignity for your own self. If you don't respect your own self, nobody's going to respect you. And that's where a lot of times for our teams and our staff, we have to also tell them that, like in my company, guest is God, but not at the cost of your own personal dignity. So we do, and I think today the companies also encourage us to stand up for our teams. Nobody can misbehave with each other or by our guests. And we do have stringent rules and laws. The posh is not limited just within, it's also outside. And that makes people, so again I like to say, I think we need to speak more about how this industry has evolved for us to be able to get more placements coming from colleges. Because we do realize that there are far more opportunities. When I went out, there were exactly 5 companies in this country who came for campus placement, and they were all hotel companies. So today, imagine what happens in campuses. You all know what happens there. In comparison, it's very, very different. But are we telling the students what's going on in this industry? What are the opportunities for them? The lady said that by working here, the kind of personality development that you get, the professional that you become, I many times think that it's great to do an MBA, but because of the circumstances as a live human being, what you become in this industry, I don't think anything else ever gives it to you. But are we telling the students about it, or are we just showing them those call center and other small time jobs where there is never a growth? So we know in our industry, so many people have risen right from what we spoke as a waiter to be general managers, area directors, and larger roles also. It's not that they remained as a waiter; they obviously built their education skills also, and that's where I think the education institutions need to start talking to students who join, who spend a lot of money for these courses, to see that there is a good future. These are not bad paying jobs. Any internship, you join an IBM, you join a Deloitte, you don't get big pay packages. But as you grow here, based on the kind of work you do, that's the kind of reimbursement you get. And we have to all become a little more vocal about the career paths that the individuals can gain by being in this industry.
I'll just add on to this. I think it's about changing that closed mindset. When you said that working as a waiter somewhere, it is what you learn from working in that role, the leadership skills that you gain, the people management skills that you gain from that role. Nobody talks about that.
I have been
But
trained for this.
what you
I can
see
take on
is
from
the
any
facade of
position,
it.
but
That
my
okay,
take is not mistake, na?
I'm an associated F&B service and I work as a steward or waiter, and that's it. But no one talks about what you learn when you're in that role. So, like you said, I think we need to speak about
Ask him
that.
to join from mobile.
That's what needs to happen.
Uh, any other point of view from panelists? Anything that they'd like to add on it?
I think as women leaders, if you can just interact with the students and share whatever you just shared with all of us here, more and more of the students, if you can share the opinion about and the vision what they have about the sector will definitely change, and then we can take on from there in extending the communication skills and inform them about the various profiles which are available and what the skill sets they need to look at. I think this has to happen very often, but majority of the times we just will not be able to bring in many members who can come and talk to them, the hoteliers to come and talk to them because of your busy schedules. So I think maybe a few people consciously put in some time apart to talk to the students. I think we as the educational institutes will be able to just take your message to them and see that it is implemented. Thanks for
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely. But I think one thing you have to tell these students also that nothing comes without hard work.
True.
So this is something which again a lot of people don't like doing, and I think that's a big learning curve for people like us who've been in the industry. Nothing happens without hard work. So you have to toil yourself. You gotta push yourself to limits. As Mr. Mon Kumar was saying, have you stayed back till 3 o'clock in the night and done a banquet function and wrapped it up? Yes, everyone has to do it. Otherwise, you'll never know what happens in the middle of the night. And many of these students maybe don't even want to do it. So I would also request the institutes to encourage them to understand that you join this industry, it's not going to be a bed of roses completely, and no industry. That's
You
my
have to
request.
invest. You have to invest to get your returns, right? So the initial years of your career will always be an investment, and you will of course enjoy the returns over a period of time, which definitely the students should do.
Yes.
There is one question from Saurabh Datta. His question is how the hospitality industry is dealing with neurodivergent families and their journey. Means how it is inclusive in the hospitality industry when we speak of this kind of people joining. Nowadays we are having differently able people joining the industry. Like Lemon Tree has already opened up in that sense. So how things are at your end? Can you just put some words into it?
So I think we're very very open to any approach on this, and my hotel itself has 5 people like this at the hotel, and we propagate for that, and I'm sure the same is at other hotels as well, and we are very very progressive on this thought process.
Any other thoughts that can be
Yeah,
shared?
these pops are changing and the new qualities are coming in which takes care of the inclusivity and the diversity. I think that is happening everywhere, and that is what we are able to understand by looking at the policies and the recruitment process.
Why is the initial entry so
Listen,
less?
that's why
It
today
doesn't
it's not
motivate
called
students to
disabled,
join.
it's called specially
Don't you
abled.
think it should be increased
So
as
the
Our
words
country
have
statement
changed,
is
and I think all our companies do encourage people from different backgrounds. But at the same time, I think there's a little bit of there's not tenderness because you're a woman and a man, but there's definitely a tenderness towards somebody who maybe has a little bit of a challenge, and we all need to help that person come on board. So I think as company policies, we are encouraged to do this also. It could just be training them. It could be helping them to feel more. Obviously, Lemon Tree has gone to a different level, but in our company too, we encourage people to take back office works to come in even in the front, because even guests are very happy to meet these people who are making a lot of effort, working hard to make their living. They're not standing there to look for pity. So I think even in my company, there's a lot of effort which is being done to encourage these people.
I do have a question with regard to outreach of the industry. When we speak of outreach, means in the rural areas, still now there is a taboo that anybody works in the hotel, particularly the women, they have been differently seen altogether. How that taboo we are removing from the industry perspective? Because being an industry leader, you can say it better.
So I'll take that. I think a lot of us work in different organizations, right? We have two different organizations that we are representing right now, but we are also part of formal and informal groups from within those organizations. So, for example, Manisha and myself are part of an organization that is an informal organization called the Wiki, and we do work with them to be able to get not the traditional source of business and not the traditional source of talent to the workforce. So there are a lot of ladies who come in from underprivileged homes, from underprivileged backgrounds, and they are inducted into the hotel industry if they so desire. There are also training centers, there are organizations that have started training centers to skill them, to be able to get them to the forefront and to get them into the workforce, right? How we help is more like being an enabler where we go across and recruit these ladies. Similarly, it's not only about the ladies, it's also about, like we were speaking about, the differently abled people, right? And I think that just brings us back to the entire dignity of labor. Today, people do respect the fact that you're putting in that hard work. So again, it's about just opening up to the different stratas of the economy and being able to get them into your workplace and hence the more inclusive that you can get.
I'd also like to come in, I don't think it's a taboo anymore to work in a hotel, which was a taboo maybe a couple of decades ago. Today, actually, I have people who say, I want to work for the Taj. And it's like, it's a big deal for me. I'll get married if I was working for your company because it's a Tata company. So I don't think that taboo exists presently. The only thing is that we need to be able to showcase to another segment of the society which is a little more privileged and who's refusing to join us, to also realize that this is a growing industry. There's a lot of future out here, unlike a lot of other industries which are going to go in a different manner with the coming of AI and other things. This industry is here for stay. It's not going to go away, it's only going to grow, it's going to become better, and there is a huge opportunity for them. Lastly, India is growing. India's tourism industry still has a huge growth potential. So to join a growing industry is far better than to get into a place which is not, going to have a future a couple of decades later.
Thank you for your opinions. Think so that any other aspect that you feel like in terms of India now growing in a space where we can be third largest economy throughout the world. Now we are contemplating that in 2030. So in that scenario, any suggestions that you can put forward being a women leader in the hospitality industry? Anything that you can say with regard to the future aspect of the growth factor that we are contemplating at larger end?
I'll give a very philosophical answer and live and let live, right? There's somebody who has helped you get to the level that you are today, immaterial of what the gender of that person is. I think you're here at this point in time to be able to help the others. So if you have been given that special role and you've reached that special role, then please respect it and be able to bring that many more people into this industry and into this workforce and help them grow through it rather than bring them down. So, sorry, it was philosophical, but I thought I'd put it
But
there.
it is somewhat true also. Any additions?
This is something that I have this written on my diary.
Oh.
Something that I'm proud of. That we are in a position where we are able to help, whether it's the community, guests, staff, and I think that's what will help us build. So we should use that to the most of its potential, definitely.
Any other take on this particular note from anyone else?
I guess if we're working with NGOs, working with different platforms, whether it is Wiki, Satya, and Yuva Sena and things like that, and in a position where we can make a change, as the ladies mentioned, I guess somewhere down the line it is more about giving back as well. What is it that you're giving back to the
society.
community? So I guess on the same lines, I agree with what we are saying here.
Priya ma'am,
Yeah, I concur with the ladies. There's a lot that we can give. There's a lot we can help with people, and it's not always limited to our teams, to the environment that we're in. Because we're looking at sustainability. We're looking at various stakeholders, our very guests who help us with our business, our owners. So I think we contribute in various places. But one thing which I think you learn and you gain being in this space is the amount of relationships you're able to have, which many other spaces don't give you that opportunity. You can influence a lot of different stakeholders of the society, and our industry gives us that space. So that's from my side.
quite important inputs that we received from all of you. Ma'am, any other thing that you would like to share, Principal ma'am?
Just as Ms. Priya said that we need to interact with them and that they have an opportunity to interact with all the stakeholders and various walks of people from the society. I think we need to really get in touch and then connect more and then see how we together as an industry and an educational institute quickly it is. And I think it's a try or anything is there or we can conclude over here. And before we conclude, I just thank all the 4 women leaders of the hospitality and where you are doing an extremely wonderful job and very inspirational. I think thanks a lot from institutes and on behalf of Mr. Mohan Kumar, thank you for coming on board and then share your insights with us. Wherein we just we actually I think we're motivated now and we are many thoughts have triggered in us where we as an educational institute what we do and how we need to take forward few of the aspects which you spoke about and inspired many women to join this industry. And then even the boys to make them understand and realize the industry is not like before and there are many things which they need to add up and then how technology plays an important role in educational that how we need to bring in technology into their education is something that we need to look into important and thanks for insights and sharing of your experiences with us. A happy Women's Day again and it's really a wonderful webinar and then we really learned a lot and I hope the same with all the audiences that joined with us. Thank you and have a very good evening. We'll be in touch with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much and thank the people who joined here today, some of my team and the others, and thank you to the Institute for bringing us here. Thank you.
I'd like to conclude by saying it is our pleasure to all having all of you in this particular webinar, all the leading ladies of the hospitality industry, sharing your thoughts, sharing your insights, sharing your experience. So all these are great things that we can share to our student also. For that they can also think and they can also have a career like you people at your stage. They can also keep themselves updated or keep themselves in that particular loop. So thank you all again for joining me in this particular webinar. Thanks.
Thank you. The pleasure is ours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
सर आपकी चाय वो शरबत हो चुकी है सर.